Close your eyes and let the distant echo of ancient drums guide you. Tonight, we journey once again into the heart of the Aztec Empire, a world where justice was sacred, truth was powerful, and every choice could shape the balance of the universe. Beneath the glow of torches and the gaze of the gods, their courts and plazas held stories of fairness and harmony. In this final chapter of our quiet exploration, we uncover the last secrets of Aztec law, how their courts defended honesty, how their public squares became theaters of justice, and how their timeless wisdom still whispers to us across the centuries. Settle in, breathe deeply, and let the tale of an empire's soul carry you gently towards sleep. If you find peace in these stories, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. It helps our little community of dreamers grow. Imagine the soft crackling of a distant fire, the stars glittering over the Valley of Mexico, and the faint scent of copal incense drifting through the night air. The Aztec Empire, powerful and vast, stood at the center of Mesoamerica, its cities bustling with life, trade, and ritual. Yet beneath this vibrant surface, a strict system of rules held society together, a system that promised harmony but allowed no room for carelessness. For the Aztecs, justice was not just about punishing wrongdoers, it was about preserving balance in the cosmos. They believed that every action, no matter how small, could tilt the delicate harmony between the gods, nature, and humankind. Laws were the threads that bound their world, ensuring that chaos did not creep in. As you listen, imagine a moonlit plaza where elders and judges gather, their feathered cloaks swaying in the breeze, their eyes calm yet watchful. The city hums with distant drums and laughter, but here, in the quiet heart of the community, order is maintained. The Aztecs did not have prisons. Punishments were swift, clear, and public, designed not only to correct, but to teach. Every person, from the humblest farmer to the noble warrior, knew the expectations placed upon them. This unforgiving nature of justice might seem harsh to us now, but to them, it was a reflection of their cosmic understanding. A mistake was not merely a private failing, it threatened the well-being of the entire community. Tonight, as you drift deeper into this story, you will walk among the markets, the temples, and the family hearts of this civilization, discovering how their laws shaped every heartbeat of their daily lives. In the Aztec world, there were no shelves lined with written codes of law. Instead, their legal system lived in the memories and voices of elders and judges. Laws were taught orally, passed down through generations like sacred songs. This gave their justice system a human, living quality. Laws were not cold text, but part of the cultural fabric. Elders would gather the young and speak of honesty, respect, and the duties owed to family and gods. A child's first understanding of justice came not from courts, but from the warm glow of a hearth, where parents and grandparents recited ancient wisdom. These spoken rules emphasized morality as much as order. It wasn't enough to obey. One had to embody virtues such as humility, loyalty, and fairness. To act selfishly was to disrespect not only one's peers, but also the gods who watched over the universe. Picture a teacher in a quiet courtyard, speaking softly as the sun sets, her words weaving lessons that will guide a generation. The crackling fire nearby punctuates her voice, making the moment feel eternal. This oral tradition meant that justice was accessible to everyone. Even those who could not read or write understood the expectations of society, because those expectations lived in the rhythms of daily life, at the market, at the dinner table, in the temple. Such a system, simple yet profound, ensured that the Aztecs' moral compass remained steady, anchored by tradition and community. In the bustling heart of Tenochtitlan, life was not the same for everyone. The Aztec Empire was a carefully layered society, with nobles, warriors, artisans, traders, and farmers all holding different places within its structure. But when it came to justice, the laws reached across these divides. A crime was a crime, no matter who committed it, at least in principle. This equality under the law reflected the Aztecs' belief that cosmic balance could not be bent by privilege. Imagine a busy marketplace where a wealthy merchant and a humble farmer cross paths. If the merchant cheated the farmer, the punishment could be severe, despite his status. However, the reality was more nuanced. Nobles often faced stricter penalties for certain crimes because they were expected to set an example. To break the law as a noble was not only a personal failing, but a disgrace to the gods who had entrusted them with leadership. At the same time, those of lower classes could sometimes escape with lighter sentences for minor mistakes, as their struggles were recognized by the community. This duality, harshness for the powerful, understanding for the struggling, helped preserve a sense of fairness. The laws were less about crushing people and more about reminding them of their shared duty to maintain harmony. Picture a young artisan, accused of dishonesty, standing before the elders in a sunlit courtyard. The wind carries the scent of maize and flowers as people gather quietly to hear the verdict. It is not hatred or vengeance that fills the air, but the solemn weight of tradition. The punishment he receives is not to humiliate him, but to guide him back to the path of honor. Such public moments strengthen the bonds of the community. By witnessing justice applied evenly, the Aztecs reinforced the belief that everyone played a role in holding their world together. Even in a society with clear ranks and privileges, the thread of justice wove them all into a single cosmic tapestry. This careful balance between social expectation and universal law helped the Aztecs maintain order in a vast and diverse empire. Their understanding of justice was both strict and surprisingly compassionate, recognizing the shared humanity beneath their rigid social layers. Long before a person ever stood in a public court, the foundations of Aztec justice were laid in the home. Parents played a vital role in shaping their children's character, instilling discipline, honesty, and respect from an early age. A child who ignored their parents' teachings risked not just family shame, but the disapproval of the gods themselves. Imagine a small, smoky household at dawn. The faint light filters through a reed mat as a mother quietly instructs her children. She speaks of hard work in the fields, of honoring elders, and of keeping one's word. These lessons, repeated daily, became the invisible framework that supported the empire's moral order. Fathers, too, were expected to be firm but fair. They might impose small punishments, like pricking a child's skin lightly with a thorn, or making them inhale a puff of chili smoke, to teach the importance of obedience without lasting harm. These were not acts of cruelty, but gentle reminders that discipline was a path to harmony, not suffering. Grandparents, elders, and extended family all took part in this education. Wisdom was shared not through books, but through stories told beside the hearth. Tales of heroes, gods, and past mistakes carried lessons that no decree could match. The family unit was, in many ways, the first and most important court of law. This domestic discipline ensured that many disputes never reached public judgment. A community where parents taught responsibility was a community that needed fewer punishments. The Aztecs understood that justice was not just about punishment, it was about preventing wrongdoing through careful guidance and moral strength. By the time a child became an adult, the rules of society were second nature. The Aztecs' belief in teaching discipline early meant that their legal system was supported by countless small lessons learned at home. It was here, in the quiet of family life, that the seeds of order were sown, ensuring the empire's stability for generations. In Aztec villages and city neighborhoods, justice was not a distant or hidden process. It lived in the very heart of the community. Minor disputes were often resolved locally, without the need for formal trials. Neighbors, elders, and respected family heads gathered quietly to mediate, aiming to restore harmony rather than sow division. Picture a small plaza where two farmers have argued over a boundary line. Instead of anger or violence, wise elders invite them to sit on woven mats beneath the shade of a tree. The conversation is calm, guided by tradition and patience. The goal is not to humiliate, but to heal. For small offenses like borrowing without permission or spreading unkind rumors, restitution was more common than punishment. The wrongdoer might return goods, offer additional help in the fields, or give a public apology. In this way, justice remained a living part of the social fabric, keeping relationships intact. These community-based solutions reflected a deep understanding. Tearing apart bonds of trust would weaken everyone. By resolving conflicts close to home, the Aztecs strengthened their sense of unity. Even when tempers flared, the process itself was a reminder of their shared responsibility to maintain balance. Of course, some crimes did require escalation. When theft, violence, or dishonor threatened the broader order, cases were taken to local judges or even to the empire's higher courts. But the foundation was always the same. Justice was about restoring harmony, not vengeance. This layered approach to justice, beginning with the community, helped prevent minor conflicts from growing into larger feuds. It also taught every citizen that their actions mattered, that peace was not the job of rulers alone, but of every family and every neighbor. To the Aztecs, punishment was more than correction. It was a sacred act to restore balance between the human world and the gods. They believed that wrongdoing created ripples in the cosmic order, and those ripples had to be smoothed. Without action, misfortune could fall upon families, crops, or even the entire empire. Imagine a quiet dawn in a temple courtyard. A small group gathers, not in anger, but in solemn duty. A minor offender stands before them, head bowed, as a priest softly invokes the gods. The air is still, as if the universe itself pauses to witness the act of restoration. Punishments varied widely depending on the crime. Some were symbolic, fasting, wearing special garments, or performing public labor, meant to humble the offender and reaffirm their commitment to the community. These acts were less about pain and more about reflection and renewal. In more serious cases, punishment could be severe, but even then, it carried a spiritual meaning. The Aztecs believed that strict measures protected not only society, but also the delicate web of cosmic forces. To them, every penalty was a prayer for balance, not cruelty. Public ceremonies sometimes accompanied these events, turning punishment into a lesson for all who watched. The message was clear. The harmony of the world was fragile, and everyone bore the responsibility to protect it through honesty and respect. As the embers of the ceremonial fire died down, the community would breathe easier, believing the balance had been restored. For the Aztecs, punishment was never the end of the story. It was a step toward healing the rift between people, gods, and the universe itself. For the Aztecs, the natural world was not separate from their laws. It was their guide and their witness. Water, fire, earth, and wind were seen as living forces, each representing aspects of cosmic harmony. When someone broke a law, it was as if they had disturbed these elements, upsetting the balance that sustained life. Imagine a quiet lake at sunrise, its surface perfectly still. To the Aztecs, that calm water mirrored a just and peaceful society. A single stone thrown into the lake, a single wrongdoing, would ripple outward, touching everything. Justice, then, was the act of smoothing those ripples and restoring the lake's serenity. Fire, too, was a powerful symbol. It represented both creation and destruction, warmth and danger. Punishments involving fire or its imagery reminded people that their actions could either nourish the world or consume it. Even small gestures, like tending the hearth carefully, carried moral weight. Earth was the mother of all things, feeding and sheltering her children. To harm another person was, in the Aztec view, to wound the earth itself. Laws protecting fields, crops, and common property reflected this reverence. Offenders often had to make amends not only to their neighbors, but to the land. Wind, invisible yet essential, symbolized truth and speech. False words could scatter like a storm, spreading harm far beyond their source. The Aztecs treated dishonesty as a serious offense because they believed lies disturbed the harmony of breath and spirit that connected all beings. Through these symbols, nature was a silent participant in every judgment. To the Aztecs, justice was not merely a human concern. It was a cosmic responsibility shared with the elements themselves. The bustling markets of Tenochtitlan were more than centers of commerce. They were the lifeblood of the empire. Every day, traders, farmers, and artisans filled the plazas with colors, sounds, and scents. Yet beneath the vibrant energy of trade, strict rules maintained fairness and trust. Picture rows of stalls under woven canopies, where vendors sell cacao, maize, textiles, and shimmering obsidian blades. The hum of voices is constant, but there's an underlying order. Each trader knows that honesty is not just expected, it is enforced. Cheating was not merely a personal failing, but an offense against the entire community. Market officials, known as Tianquispan Playakanki, quietly observed the exchanges. They ensured that weights and measures remained fair, that prices did not exploit the needy, and that disputes were resolved before they could disrupt the harmony of the marketplace. Punishments for dishonest trade were swift and public. A vendor caught using false weights might face shame in front of peers or be banned from the market. These measures were not meant to destroy livelihoods, but to remind everyone that trust was the foundation of prosperity. Even trade with distant lands followed these principles. When Aztec merchants traveled far beyond the empire's borders, they carried not only goods, but also the values of fairness and respect. Their reputation as honest traders ensured that alliances and exchanges flourished. In this way, the marketplace was more than an economic hub. It was a living classroom where the principles of justice were practiced daily. Every transaction, large or small, reinforced the idea that harmony depended on fairness, even in the simple act of buying and selling. In the heart of the Aztec Empire, truth was considered sacred. To tell a lie was not just to deceive another person, it was to fracture the harmony between humans and the gods. The courts, therefore, placed enormous weight on honesty. Testimonies were delivered publicly, under the open sky, as if the heavens themselves were witnesses. Imagine a gathering at dusk, where villagers sit on woven mats in a quiet courtyard. A soft breeze stirs the air as a dispute is heard. Each voice is steady but careful, for everyone knows that words carry power. To speak falsely was to invite cosmic imbalance and community shame. Judges, often elders or officials with years of wisdom, listened patiently. They weighed not only the facts, but also the character of those involved. A truthful reputation could tip the balance in one's favor, while a history of deceit would cast a long shadow. Witnesses were chosen carefully, and oaths were sacred. A false oath was seen as an affront to the gods, and punishments for perjury were severe. But even in their strictness, the Aztecs valued fairness. Judges were expected to remain impartial, serving not personal interest, but the greater good. In serious cases, appeals could be made to higher authorities, but even then, the foundation was the same. Truth was a thread connecting the people to the divine. To uphold it was to preserve the universe's fragile balance. Through this reverence for honesty, the Aztec courts became more than places of judgment. They were sanctuaries where cosmic order was reaffirmed, one truthful word at a time. Justice in the Aztec world was not hidden behind closed doors. It unfolded beneath the sun, in plazas and public spaces where the entire community could bear witness. This openness reinforced the idea that law was not a distant concept, but a shared responsibility. Picture a bustling city square, where merchants pack up their stalls and families gather quietly as elders step forward. The sound of drums fades as silence falls over the crowd. A judgment is about to be delivered, and everyone waits with bated breath, not out of fear, but respect for the process. Public hearings and punishments served as lessons. By observing, people learned the consequences of dishonesty, violence, or betrayal. They saw that even the powerful could be held accountable, and that even the humble deserved fairness. These events also bound the community together. The collective experience of witnessing justice strengthened trust among neighbors. It reminded them that their lives were interconnected, that their choices affected not only themselves, but the world around them. For the Aztecs, public justice was a form of storytelling. Each verdict and each ceremony retold the timeless narrative that harmony was fragile and must be protected. The plazas became stages where the values of their civilization were reaffirmed again and again. As the crowd dispersed and life returned to normal, the lesson lingered in every heart that justice was not an abstract idea, but a living, breathing force holding their world together. As the last echoes of distant drums fade, the Aztec world grows quiet. The fires in the plazas dim, the stars reclaim the night sky, and the lessons of their justice system settle like soft dust over an ancient city. Though centuries have passed, the essence of their laws remains, a reminder that harmony, fairness, and respect are timeless. Their punishments may seem harsh to modern eyes, yet their purpose was never simple cruelty. Each action, each judgment, was a step toward maintaining balance between people, gods, and the natural world. In their eyes, the universe itself depended on justice. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, let the whispers of their wisdom guide you. Breathe deeply and imagine the quiet plazas, the flickering torches, and the steady voices of elders reminding us that every choice carries weight. The Aztec Empire may have vanished, but its understanding of justice still speaks to the enduring need for order, harmony, and connection.